Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in. Tonight I'm going to be recording some relevant news gathered from public domain sources and try to keep y'all up to date on some important situations that largely go unnoticed. So this is from Voice of America News. Stay tuned.
Lyudmila and Denis Sakno married 17 years ago and expected to spend the rest of their lives together. But marital tension spiked when Russia-backed rebels took advantage of a power vacuum in Kiev to seize control of their town. Lyudmila, an ethnic Ukrainian, says while she was emotionally torn by the situation, her husband, who is half Russian, saw it differently.
He thought it would turn into a new country with new possibilities, while my attitude was that it was an occupation and impeding on my rights.
Lyudmila, a restaurant manager, says they made a deal not to talk about politics at home. While she followed Ukrainian news online, Denis, a construction worker, received his information from Russian state television.
I was always indifferent. If Ukraine, let it be Ukraine. If Russia, let it be Russia. We had some discussions and some arguments.
As the quarrels became a daily occurrence, the couple split up and then filed for divorce. Kramatorsk Marriage Registration Office head Yulia Parshina says during the last year of fighting, many couples became scared and canceled wedding plans. Or like Lyudmila and Denis, they split because of political differences or when the men joined the rebellion.
We don't usually ask why people divorce, but among my friends, relatives, and acquaintances, I can say that a lot of families were broken because some were for a united Ukraine and some supported the DPR.
Because they watch that Russian state TV.
The armed men in the streets pushed anti-Ukrainian attitudes and clashed with Ukrainian forces. Denis's views toward the rebels changed.
It dawned on him what was happening. He saw the process from inside. He understood and saw that they were not building something new, but just destroying.
Lyudmila, however, acknowledges her view of Ukrainian authorities was also somewhat overly enthusiastic.
We both understood in the wrong way. It was not only about me not understanding correctly. I have regrets, not only about our relations, but my main regret is that I was fooled.
Although they agreed to finalize the divorce, Denis and Lyudmila are on friendly terms, and Denis still holds out hope of saving their marriage. Despite the ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine, they both see a better future. This is a war of politics, they agree, not a war of Ukrainians versus Russians. Daniel Sheriff, VOA News, Kramatorsk.
President Obama arrives in Germany at a time when anti-American sentiments are high as a lingering result of revelations about U.S. spying, including on Chancellor Angela Merkel. Demonstrators here staged a protest outside a U.S. military facility near the summit site. And there are questions about the U.S. leader's handling of economic issues, his strategy against the Islamic State group, and a policy on Russia that White House spokesman Josh Earnest acknowledges has not caused Vladimir Putin's behavior to change in Ukraine.
The economic pressure that's been applied to Russia has not yet resulted in President Putin changing his strategic calculus inside of Ukraine.
I disagree.
Fresh violence erupting in Ukraine, President Obama will rally G7 leaders to extend sanctions that are set to expire in the next 2 months. But efforts to isolate Russia are in question. Secretary of State John Kerry visited Russia last month, and U.S. officials recognized the importance of Russia's role in efforts to reach a nuclear deal with Iran and rid Syria of chemical weapons. At this resort in the German Alps, President Obama will seek unity on the issues and show the U.S. maintains a leadership role. Heather Conley is a Europe analyst with the Center for Strategic and International Studies.
There is growing sensitivity at the White House about criticism of the lack of American leadership or the lack of policy effectiveness for both of these two important geostrategic issues. But at this point, this summit is an opportunity for these important leaders to have very candid conversations privately and then put forward a message, a unified message of their approach on an incredible range of issues.
Those thorny issues will include Iran. This is the last chance for face-to-face meetings.
Keep your friends close. Keep your enemies closer.
With G7 leaders before this month's deadline for a nuclear agreement. The way forward against the Islamic State group in Iraq is also high on the agenda following the fall of Ramadi and U.S. concerns that Iraqis may have lost the will to fight. On Monday, Mr. Obama is set to meet with Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi. Luis Ramirez, VOA News, at the site of the G7 summit near Garmisch, Germany.
The Russians use China as a proxy to do hacking. They've done this for 30 years now.
Officials and analysts say they believe China-based hackers with possible links to the country's government are behind the attack that has targeted the personal information of as many as 4 million current and former federal government workers.
The initial read that it's coming from the Chinese, the question is it state-sponsored? Is it a private entity? Are these just hackers?
The Chinese government had a sharp response to allegations that it was linked to the hack.
We hope the U.S. can stop being constantly paranoid and making groundless accusations, but instead show more trust and cooperation in this field.
At the White House, spokesman Josh Earnest stopped short of assigning blame.
I can't get into any conclusions that have been reached about who or what country may be responsible for this particular incident.
He said the United States and China do have ongoing discussions about cybersecurity.
When it comes to China, you all know that the president has frequently, including in every single meeting that he's conducted with the current Chinese president, raised China's activities in cyberspace as a significant source of concern.
He added that the administration took seriously the need to defend federal security networks from cyber intrusions such as this one. Pam Dawkins, VOA News, the State Department.
In addition to this, there's been 2 actual known Russian attacks on, I believe it was, the White House and the Pentagon. So, y'all just keep nitpicking everything the man's doing. You know, it's a wonder the perceived notion of getting things done is so difficult. Like, I can't figure it out. He's got all this support from so many people. Yeah, right. No president has worked harder and done more with so little support. Like, subscribe, go away.